Welcome, friends. Thursdays, I go live only for my high performance leadership group. So I'll be cross posting this. And if you're seeing this on my timeline or on LinkedIn or through my podcast, I want you to go to facebook.com/groups/we are building brilliance, because this is the space where we can learn together, create community. And for those who want to live and lead lives that are defined by joy, that are characterized by success on your terms as you define it. I often find myself as an outlier. I find myself playing out in left field and sometimes even unaware that there is a quote game of life going on, because I've always kind of marched to the beat of my own drummer. I would be what you call a disruptor or a visionary. I love to kind of lead the way into the future and nudge the edges of our comfort zones. And that's something that it took me a long time to discover that brings me joy, and that's what I do. But it is what I do. I was on a meeting with my book coach this week, and he said, you have to realize most single moms live below the poverty line. You're the single mom who achieved her doctorate while being a single mom, who founded a school as a single mom, who led a major innovation grant, who led the development of a learning and performance department for a growing and scaling company to help them quadruple in size and prepare to go public. You're the single mom who moved from downtown to the country, having no clue how to even do yard work or shovel snow. I've never done those things, and yet wanted to support my daughter in her riding goals as an equestrian. And I had to make a lot of courageous career changes to be able to do that. And that's what I'm now so excited to share with others, because my main goal is to help you do the same. So I came across this wonderful quote. So since in the spirit of leadership, one of the people who's taught me the most is my dear friend, John Maxwell. He waited until he had over, I believe it was 50 years experience to write this book. And it's one of my favorites. So screenshot that, post it, share it, support other authors. This book is truly loaded with amazing leadership lessons. And what's really fun is they're short. So you don't need to read it cover to cover. You can just kind of open it up. It's one of those books that'll divinely deliver whatever message you need for the day. And what's really fun is there's like these little call outs on the side. So you don't even, if you're really pressed for time and you just want to kind of open it up and see something like I did this morning, this is what I came across. A leader's credibility begins with personal success. It ends with helping others achieve personal success. I've achieved success on my terms. My initial dream was to be a professor and create my own school. I had done all of those things by my early 30s and thought, now what? And so then the real adventure began. And now it's my honor to walk alongside other warriors who are out there ready to make moves in the world. So if you're the type that is kind of every day is the same as the last, this probably isn't the place for you. This is the place for the high achieving leaders, the innovators, the disruptors, the game changers, the visionaries, those who know they're meant for more and who want to learn the leadership skills to help them get there. Today's theme is influence. Leaders have influence. Business owners have influence. Even if you're an employee on a team, guess what? You're influencing the people around you. If you're a part of a family, you're influencing the people around you. If you live in a community, you're influencing the people around you. You get the point. We're all influencers. We influence the people surrounding us each and every day. It's part of being human. One of the things that I believe wholeheartedly is that each and every one of us is a leader. Don't wait for your boss to tell you you're a leader. Don't wait for your teacher. I'm here to tell you you're a leader, my friend. Raise your hand if you woke up this morning. Raise your hand if you got out of bed. If you did those things, you know who led the way? You did. Each and every day, you lead the most difficult person on the planet, and that is yourself. What you'll see here on the window that's out to the barn is an outline of the course that I'm creating. I'm putting together a signature offer to help people exhibit high performance leadership in their lives. Here's why. The world's highest performers consistently achieve success. That word consistently is important. We'll unpack that in a minute, while maintaining their health and well-being and quality relationships. When I learned that the largest body of research defined high performance in that way and found that the most researched high performers actually are happier, healthier, and less stressed than their peers, I was blown away because that was not my reality. As my career grew, I packed on the pounds. I started to sleep worse. The quality of my sleep worsened. The amount of quality time I had with my loved ones diminished. The short-temperedness increased. Think of stress as like a glass of water. I've learned that in my cancer journey, that sometimes I've owned that I'll sometimes just snap at my daughter and I'm like, who is this person? I don't like who I am. And I learned, thanks to this facilitator at a retreat, that my glass is so full of stress that slightest little drop and poof, you explode. Whereas before cancer, my stress levels were a lot lower. And so I could handle lots of drops into my glass. That might be you. Maybe right now, whatever it is that you're dealing with is so stressful that those little drops are making you the person that you don't want to be. You know what that means? That, my friend, means you need some leadership skills, because leadership helps prepare you to navigate ambiguity, to manage change and uncertainty outside of the norm. I'm a mathematician, so I think normal distribution curve. What's everybody else doing? Freaking out, stressing out. No, thank you. I want you over here on the right in the top. Pick your percent. I'm going to say 5. You might say 10. Whatever your stretch goal is, might be 15, right? Pick your bar. 20. If you're really stuck in the mediocre middle, you might say top 20%. And then 10. It'll take you time to get there. I remember one of my coaches told me, Jay, you're in the top 5% of earners. And I went, I am? I Googled top wages. And there's an economic institute that puts out like the top percentages of earners. And that inspired me to grow even more. So challenge yourself. We are wired for challenge, my friends. And I want you to think about, how can you challenge yourself to rise to, and not in a way that compares yourself to others. I want you comparing yourself to who you were yesterday. Today, I woke up better than yesterday, and I'm celebrating that. Yesterday was a pretty brutal day. It's been a really difficult week. We're preparing. I had to make a decision. I was laid off, 2 days later, diagnosed with cancer. This was all 5 months after moving out to 5-acre property in the country. I have learned more in the past year and a half being here than I have in a decade of my city life. It has been the most magnificent experience. Yet I also feel very overwhelmed and stressed. And it took someone being my mirror to say, are you sure this is worth it? Is this what Gigi wants? And I was like, of course she wants this. What kid wouldn't want this? Why wouldn't I fight for this? And he's like, you've achieved more than most couples achieve. You've definitely achieved more than any single woman I have ever met. And maybe you can let it go. And I thought, let it go? No way. But that opened a doorway of thought of what other possibilities are out there. We've struggled to find trainers. Turns out great trainers don't really want to go to a one-on-one at someone's property. And so we went to Wellington. We're looking at how do we position ourselves to live not only in Colorado, in this beautiful Rocky Mountain state, but also to be able to travel more. And it's difficult to travel when you're managing a large property like this with animals. And so just allowing for the adventure, no harm, no foul on the, like, I will admit, there's times where I'm like, why did you do this? Oh my gosh, if you'd stayed in the city, your severance would have lasted 3 years, but instead you tripled your mortgage and now you're out here and it only will last 1. What are you going to do? And, you know, there's other times where I'm like, man, I just furnished a 5,800 square foot home. I just built out an Airbnb and now I'm going to turn around and sell it all. How much sense does that make? And I'll tell you, my friends, follow the desires of your heart. You've got to spend some time in stillness. You've got to spend more time in meditation. The world around us is a little bit crazy. And so we have to do those things more often. And the more that I sit with myself, the more I'm like, I want to give my business more runway. I want to have time to pursue this. I want to train other people how to utilize leadership to make courageous career change, to better lead their lives. When you know the skills and competencies leaders know, you live better. It's not, there's no reason that they're paid more, they're granted more promotions. You know why? They've got the essential skills, the ones that school didn't teach us. That's why I'm here, my friends. So today's This week's focus is influence. Every day I'm going live. It's a challenge that I'm doing to help build followership, to help express this content in a way that's meaningful for others and to learn. I'm in that messy middle that's really uncomfortable. I don't have hundreds of thousands of millions of followers. And so I'm working towards building that. And I hope you'll help me. I hope that you'll help me by tuning in. I hope that you'll help me by joining this group, by sharing this podcast or YouTube video, whichever median mode you're one. Median mode. I just can't get out of my mathematical mind, no matter how much I try. I'm really working on it right now. I'm working on evolved consciousness and moving to that 5D state. And I still want to come down to that 3D. Everything fits in a box, neat and organized, categorized, color-coded, sorted. The CDO in me loves that. For those of you who haven't heard of CDO, it's what you would do to OCD. You would alphabetize those letters. I mean, come on, friends. So we're talking influence. And as we think about influence, I wanted to come back to, there's a piece that I love that I just came across in a book by Tommy Spalding, but it reminded me of John Maxwell. And he says this, and I want you to write this down. People will summarize your life in one sentence. Pick it now. Amidst the stress, I'm here to confess that I haven't been that nice to my daughter. Sometimes when I'm really stressed out, she gets the worst of me. Why? Because she sees the version of me that's not on camera. She sees the version of me that's waking up exhausted. She sees the version of me that is a little overwhelmed and wanting to skip my workout. And I have to remember, I pull all of the high performance habits that I have out. I use the power of the words I don't. I'm going to be teaching those in my program. I'm going to have a 5-day live launch where you can get to know me, you can get to know the program, all for free. It's a 5-day masterclass starting November 6th. So mark your calendars. I'm going to be putting out a registration page. My tech team's working tirelessly on making a really beautiful page for you to register. We'll get all that out to you. So it's very important to me that you stay connected to this Facebook group because this is the place where I can nurture and talk to you. Think of it like our living room. It's where we come, walk in and hang out, sit down, type something to your friends. It's where we create community and where we support each other. So as you think about that, I want you to think about that one sentence because this was what I had to come back to when I realized, man, I'm being really short with my child. The minute she's not doing what she needs to do, I'm on her. But you know what I'm not doing? I'm not praising the 50 things she's doing right. I'm praising the fact, or I'm criticizing the fact that the living room's a mess, the kitchen's left a mess, and there are food under her bed. I mean, it's big things. It's not like I'm freaking out over the little stuff. These are major things. And they're things that I've asked her to do again and again. And so I have to get myself in check, though. That's what a leader does, right? A leader manages people who may be going astray. And so as moms, that's what we have to do. So I thought people will summarize your life in one sentence. Pick it now. How's my daughter going to summarize this chapter of our lives? How are your children going to summarize this chapter of your life? So this notion of what will you leave behind, John writes, on December 18th, 1988, I had a serious heart attack. That night, as I lay on the floor waiting for an ambulance, I remember thinking two things. First, I was too young to die. Second, I had not completed some of the things I wanted to accomplish. I think that's true for all of us. In December, I was faced with a lethal form of cancer, and I had to make plans for what would happen to my daughter if I died. How did I want my funeral to go? That's a scary place to be. And suddenly you realize, why am I spending all of my days working so hard for everybody else? Why am I not pursuing my heart song? I've wanted to run my own business and train from anywhere in the world across the globe on my laptop for a really long time. Did you know? Oh, I don't have this bookmarked. I'll have to talk about this later. I don't want to derail my plans, but there are an average of, I can't help myself. If there's just a fact that I know, and I know where it's, see, it's right here. That's why I love organizations. Did you know that more than 4 million people have left their job each month so far this year in the United States? 4 million people. You know what they're saying? They're voting with their feet. They're leading their lives. They're saying there is more to me than my title. There is more to me than one of my coaching clients, she said, you know what? This is the best thing I've ever done. Because I didn't even realize that when I ate dinner was determined by my corporate job. Where I vacationed was determined by my corporate job. My entire life was governed by my corporate job. I've worked in education, I've worked in politics, and I've worked in corporate industries. My entire life was governed by all of those things at those moments in time. And I'm here to tell you, if you have an itch to launch your mission-centered vision into the world, I'm building this program for you. I want you with me the week of November 6th, because I'm going to equip you with the tools so that you won't be shaken. You will build momentum. Part of why you see that little atom in my logo, it symbolizes the principles of Newtonian physics, that an object set in motion stays in motion. But what do we typically do? Remember how I said the world's highest performers perform consistently? What we typically do is peak performance. We scale that peak. Someone puts the carrot out in front of us. Us high achievers go, oh yeah, I'm after it. And then what do? We plummet to the valley to recover because we didn't maintain our health and well-being and quality relationships. When you add high performance and leadership competencies together, you position yourself to lead a life that you're proud of. Yes, you'll fall down. You'll have moments like I did where this week's been a little bit brutal and I had to recalibrate. I had to have a quote team meeting with my family and say, hey, yes, this is hard. It is hard not knowing. What we've been through was hard. It was hard navigating layoff and cancer. Can we give ourselves a little permission to say it's hard? Right now, the world is hard. I was on the phone this morning with a realtor looking at scheduling some properties that we're going to go see. And get this, her son is in the middle of a lockdown with shooting, active shooter. She chose that school for him because of it, how safe she perceived it to be. Now he's left her roost and is off away in a different state. And she's dying a little inside. The world is hard. You don't have to look far. You don't have to talk for more than 5 minutes to hear about tragedy. And what I see people do is putting on that mask of masculinity, manning up and going out there and saying it's all fine. And here's what I know for sure. It's not. It's not fine. And it's okay that it's not fine. And that's where I want us to be able to utilize both our masculinity, which is that aggressive goal setter in you, that's decisive, that's determined, that's disciplined. Those are all great things. And I want you to embrace your femininity, the collaborative side of you, the communicative side of you, the human side of you, who says, I see you and I want to nurture you and I'm going to look out for you and I'm going to be there for you and have your back. Woo, my friends, that is what got me through my cancer journey. That is what country life taught me more than anything else, is how much love and compassion there is in this world. So let's be that light. And for us to best be that, we've got to equip ourselves with leadership skills. So people will summarize your life in one sentence. Pick it now. That's John Maxwell's words. Now let's turn to Tommy Spalding's book titled The Gift of Influence. I absolutely loved this chapter. The title, 80,000. I'm a math person, so of course I'm going to love that it's numeric, right? And it gets me wondering, it piques my curiosity. I think, ooh, 80,000, I wonder what that's about, right? Malcolm Gladwell had the 100,000 hour rule. Maybe this is something new that's out there. So I was really excited. And he says, imagine this scene. Many years from now, after you pass away, surrounded by your loved ones, you slip into the hazy twilight between life and death. You're not in heaven yet, but on the sideline of a massive stadium. For me, it's in Power Field at Mile High in Colorado, home of the Denver Broncos. Woo, woo. As a Colorado girl, of course, I don't know this author, but I was automatically hooked. For you, maybe it's Lambeau Field in Green Bay, Wisconsin, MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey, Notre Dame Stadium in Indiana, Beijing's National Stadium, or London's Wembley Stadium. The venue is at max capacity, 80,000 people. But those people are not there to watch a sporting event. They are there to say goodbye to you. So remember, you're in that hazy space between life and death, and all these 80,000 people are there to say farewell. The crowd murmurs and rises to its feet as you approach midfield. Many of the faces are those of people you know, friends, family, neighbors, coworkers, but the rest you only dimly recognize. Former clients and employees, friends of friends, classmates, your electrician, your daughter's basketball coach, the mail person. These are the transactional relationships in your life that you rarely think about. I'm going to challenge you to think about it this way. The way you do anything is the way you do everything. So the way you interact in these transactional relationships is the way you react and act in the relationships that matter most. We've got to train for all of the arenas. And how you behave in one place gets talked about in other places. Let's see, the people who don't remember your name, but remember how you treated them. Will these 80,000 people be stomping, clapping, and chanting your name to thank you for the positive influence you've had on their lives? Or will they be silent? Even worse, will the crowd boo and curse your name? Here's an even more important question. If you knew right now that every person you'd ever influenced would be waiting for you in a stadium at the end of your life, how would it affect you today? Would you lead and love differently? Would you treat people a little differently? Maybe a lot differently. He continues to write, we influence 80,000 people in our lives. Wow. So if you do the math and we look at the average life expectancy is 78 years, that means you interact with 1,025 people per year. That's 2.8 people a day. Every single day, 2 or 3 people are coming into your stadium. They're preparing to cheer you on, to boo you off the field, or to sit there trying to figure out who you are. Do you know who you are? I'm writing a book right now, and the title is going to be Shift Happens, because it's kind of funny. My mom's from England, and we grew up not being able to use curse words. And so, you know, those years where you're trying to push the boundaries and starting to use curse words. This was like one of my funny things would be like, oh, ship. And so as I was thinking about navigating change and uncertainty and leading yourself through life, I thought, shift happens. That's what it is. Like cancer, shift happens. Layoff, shift happens. Divorce, shift happens. There's lots of moments, bad breakups, bad decisions. We make them all the time as humans. Get on with it. Shift happens. Let it go, right? Move forward. That's the goal. So as we think about that and making shift happen, I want you to think about what shifts need to happen for you right now, so that whether it's picking your life to be summarized in one sentence, or whether it's having influence on 2 to 3 people per day. Influence simply means, this is what Tommy Spalding says, in its most basic sense, influence means having a lasting effect on the character or behavior of another person. That got me curious to think about, what does the dictionary say about influence? The dictionary says that influence is the capacity to have an effect on the character, development, or behavior of someone or something. Isn't that what we're all doing each and every day? When we behave in certain ways, it gives us hope. I watched 2 of my dear friends in this neighborhood run a harvest and farm that's so beautiful. And when I'm over there and we're cutting up this beautiful homemade goat's milk mozzarella and dicing up all the beautifully colored tomatoes that came in from the garden and the fresh picked basil and adding the balsamic, I come home and I'm a little more mindful of what I'm eating and putting in my body and where it came from. That, my friends, is influence. If you went out and bought, like whenever I was first shopping for my Porsche, I was looking at Panameras, I was looking at the Cayenne, I was looking at the Macan. And as I talked to other Porsche owners, I was influenced by them. As I was, even just this morning, I was sharing, as we're looking at some mountain properties right now where we'll be calling the mountains home and Wellington home. And I was like, oh my goodness, how fun is it to drive a Cayenne GTS up through a mountain road? You can just haul at elevation uphill. My friends, that engine is so much fun. And as I was talking, I could tell this person was like, I think my next car might be a Porsche Cayenne GTS. We're influencing each other, whether it's something as ridiculous as a buying decision or something as important as nourishing our health, right? And so I want you to think about, here's today's challenge this week. I want you to take your journal. Okay. I want you to have a journal. So get a journal, get a pen you love, the way it glides across the page. And this week, I want you to play with, what's that one sentence? Because I think John Maxwell's right. When we have that sentence, and here's what I want you to do. I want you to read that sentence every day. So I call that my destination declaration. It's what I'm working on. So when you're in the entrepreneur space, when you're launching a business, when you're a course creator, an author, a speaker, those things require so much hard work on your part. And there's going to be times where you stray and fall off course. And then what do? We get into that peak performance habit where we start and we gain momentum, we stop and we get discouraged, and then we beat ourselves up, and then we've got to pick ourselves up again. And that, my friends, exhausts us. So one of the ways to beat that level of exhaustion and to keep the momentum, so we're not starting and stopping, but we're consistently progressing towards our goals, is to write a sentence that is your destination declaration. And so we're going to shift gears a little bit. I think Maxwell with pick your sentence now, for me, that makes me think of who I am as a human being and how I interact with others. This particular destination declaration is for those of you wanting to make courageous career change. You've got to define how you're going to show up every day, because otherwise, normal distribution, you'll fall right into that mediocre middle. Okay. So you should have a few things in your notes right now. The first is high performers consistently outperform their peers while maintaining their health and well-being and quality relationships. That's the definition of high performance. The number one thing all of the world's highest performers do, when you look at the research, they trust in their ability to figure things out. That's the second thing I want you to have written down. I put those words on a Post-it note every time I'm navigating courageous career change. I have that Post-it note on my desk, on my refrigerator, and on my bathroom mirror, because my reticular activating system of the brain needs to see it again and again and again. It's just like driving to a new destination. You've got to create that neural pathway in your brain so that it's automatic. I trust in my ability to figure things out. I trust in my ability to figure things out. I love Glennon Doyle says, I can do hard things. Of high performance. So those are the first two. Third thing, normal distribution curve. If most people are doing it, my friends, I don't want you doing it. I want you thinking about that top 5%. If it's fun to you, you might even Google, what do the top 5% of earners make? Place yourself there. Make that your goal. You'll get there. I was broke as a joke as an educator. I've lived in a Honda Civic and bought my own $1.5 million house without a penny of child support, maintenance, or any support or inheritance from my family. You can do this, my friends. You can do this. Trust in your ability to figure things out. And the fourth thing I want you to write down is your life will be summarized in one sentence. Pick it now. The fifth thing is 80,000. That's the average amount of people that each of us is going to influence, and that's about 2 to 3 per day. And your sixth thing is your personal challenge. So those are your 5 facts and a challenge. Your challenge is to write your destination declaration and read it to yourself each morning with conviction. The words have energy. So here's my destination declaration. Mine's actually 4 paragraphs long. If you join me in my program, I'll teach you all about how to build one of these and the research behind why it's so important. This is what has led me through every single major change after divorce. This is what built me. It's the number one thing. So here's my topic sentence of my destination declaration. This is pretty brand new, within the last 9 months. As change happened, I had to look at what's my pivot going to be career-wise. And our careers get a lot of our focus. Why? They fund our lifestyle. It's important to focus on our careers. So I want to position you to make courageous career change, to launch that mission-driven business if that's in your heart, to get out of a really toxic situation with a company or a leader and into a job that brings you joy. So whatever kind of courageous career change you're making, or if you just want to build those leadership capabilities so that you do have greater influence, so that you're clear on who you are and you show up as a better mom and community member. There's a lot to benefit from whichever your situation. I'd love to hear about your situations. If you would message me, I'd love that. So here it is. And I'm going to read this with conviction and role model the way. Dr. J empowers high-achieving leaders, innovators, disruptors, game changers, and visionaries to launch mission-centered businesses so they can define success on their terms and achieve time and financial freedom. Isn't that amazing? That makes me feel good. And I can't help but have a great day after reading that. I mean, I could fall off the rails at 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Full disclosure. I get tired at that point. And guess what? I can reread this at any time during my day. I can put it on a notes page. I can make it into a meme and save it as my screensaver. There's lots of ways to get this message in front of you every day. This is why I say we're all leaders, my friends, because each and every day we have the responsibility to lead ourselves. We can't control what this world does, but we can control our response to it. I can't control the fact that cancer and a layoff made it really difficult to manage a 5,800 square foot home on 5 acres, but I can control my response to it. I can say, I'm not going to let this beat me down. I'm going to instead let this be the golden gateway to something even more amazing. I'm going to use obstacles to turn them into opportunities, because I know that in the obstacle is where our strength is built. It's also the opportunity that we have to grow closer in our relationship to the divine, whether you call that God or source. In those moments, relish that. Relish the fact that you're pausing for a moment to say, oh my gosh, this is incredibly difficult. What should I do next? I mean, I cried out to God last night saying, God, I'm looking at all these properties, and help me know which one is the best next move for me. I'm paying attention. I'm going to pay attention to where there's flow and where there's friction. With that, my friends, I want you to write that destination declaration, claim it, speak the truth in it. I'm getting my right leg tingle. Woo! Speak that truth. When you do, you will feel amazing. I didn't do that. Full confession. I didn't do this yesterday, and guess what? I had an awful day. When I do this, I have magnificent days. And there will be days you don't do it. My goal, 5 days a week at least. So I'm going to have to, because I didn't do this yesterday, I'm going to have to do this on Saturday or Sunday. You're going to have to blur the lines of your weekdays and your weekends sometimes. But I want you doing that. With that, my friends, go out and shine your love and light into the world. Join me at facebook.com/groups/We Are Building Brilliance. If you're hearing this on YouTube or through my podcast or through my personal page, I want you in that group so that we can nurture the leadership potential in each and every one of us, so that we may be leaving our legacy. We will be standing on the shoulders of those that came before us, and we're creating the path for those that'll come after us. So let's leave a legacy for the next generation, for our children. Let's show them that together we really are building brilliance, and we can create positive change in this world. With love, my friends, Dr. J signing off. See you next week.